Emergency exit doors are to the right and to the left. Bathrooms are downstairs, and there is a lift which can actually take you down there. So, Minister Stanton, Reverend Dean Paul Draper, members of the press, and all guests. I've been specifically asked to convey apologies received from Mary Butler TD, Senator Grace O'Sullivan, Mayor Declan Ducey, and Councillor Damien Gogan. So now, let me start off by saying that rumour and innuendo is burbling not only in some parts of Lismore, but as far afield as Dublin and beyond. We've been told that we are taking over the hotel to open a direct provision centre. This is not only misinformation, disinformation, and is in fact reckless fake news. This project has nothing to do with the hotel. I'll repeat that. This project has nothing to do with the hotel. What we're about to tell you is about a community support program for one Syrian family. So the evening will commence with a number of speakers, followed by a panel with a Q&A session at which your questions will be welcomed and addressed. So can I say, Céad Míle Fáilte, 100,000 welcomes. And that is what we have been doing in the Blackwater Valley, and in particular Lismore, and will continue to do since the monks first came in 635 to this wondrous part of the country. Lismore is the site of the first purpose-built hotel in the country, and it was built to welcome travellers from afar. Lismore Castle has a roll call of visitors from the UK, US, and beyond. And this town is still attracting people from all over the world to the many festivals of international standing, the numerous events, the art shows, the gardens, the fishing and sporting programs, and just to relax with the backdrop of the Knockmeadow Mountains. And with such a luminary of a travel writer residing here as Dervla Murphy, Lismore was the springboard for her many memoirs of her travels to all parts of the globe, which inspired the Travel Writers Festival. So today, we will launch another welcome, the Lismore Welcome Project, where, as a community, we help to welcome a Syrian family into the town and into our community to adopt them as one of our own. You will have seen from the slideshow the horror of life for many Syrians. Over 4 million have either died, been displaced, or fled the country since the start of conflict. We will hear from our speakers of the Irish government response to the crisis, agreed since 2015, to resettle Syrians from UN refugee camps. Refugees who will have spent many years in these UN camps undergoing the stringent vetting process required prior to being invited to Ireland. And the Syrian families who come to Ireland have a range of skills as wide as the skills on offer in Ireland. They are farmers, bakers, heating engineers, doctors, artists, beekeepers. A lady in Clonay was the owner of a vast supermarket that had its own creche and swimming pool. We will benefit by their skills and learning about their culture and food, and they have delicious food. And Lismore has been chosen by the Irish Refugee Protection Programme, which is administered through the Department of Justice, to be one of a number of towns to run a pilot community sponsorship programme to welcome and help to integrate individual families into communities in Ireland. So a group of volunteers from the Lismore Cappoquin area has been supporting Syrian families in Clonea, Dungarvan and Cappoquin since 2016 and went on to form the Lismore Welcome Project in November 2018. This formation was in response to an approach by Waterford Leader Partnership for the volunteers to spearhead a community response in Lismore and to put preparations in place to welcome a Syrian refugee family to the town later in 2019, because it will be the community who will organise the welcome. And this is what we have been doing. A group of 8 volunteers, including myself, who've been following up on the many aspects of welcoming a Syrian family into the community. And we are being guided by the work of the people of Dunshaughlin in County Meath, a community that sponsored their own Syrian family, who arrived at the end of last year, some of whom will be talking with us this evening, so we can learn more of their experiences. And after the speakers have concluded, we will be joined by other panellists from the Department of Justice, NASC and Waterford Leader Partnership for a Q&A session, and we look forward to answering your questions then. But first, Minister David Stanton, Minister with responsibility for equality, immigration and integration, has kindly agreed to talk with us this evening of the response by the government to the Syrian crisis and the role to be played by communities in the community sponsorship programme. Minister Stanton.
Before we start, can I just say there's somebody in the audience here who's broadcasting this on a far-right channel on YouTube.
Where's your evidence for that?
There you go, there he is.
Where's your evidence for that?
He's a colleague of Gemma O'Doherty, who earlier on targeted a member of your committee here and called her a Nazi Jew.
That's a lie. That's a lie. Where's your evidence for that?
I would ask that you...
Where's your evidence for that, you lawyer?
Put this guy, I put it up.
Where's your evidence? That's fantastic. It's a live broadcast, not recording.
This is a guy who's anti-immigration.
Could you let the minister speak, please? Excuse me, could you let the minister speak?
At the moment, everybody is welcome.
Thank you.
Everybody is welcome. Unless you choose to be outrageous, which I know that you will not, everyone is welcome.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for being here. Last year, I travelled over to Manchester and London to learn about private community sponsorship. And we went and we met a group in Manchester, not dissimilar to the group of people we hear this evening. A small group of people who wanted to do something for people who were really suffering, such as we've seen on the screens earlier. They had identified a house that one of them had owned, and they had furnished it and equipped it. And they had learned a lot about the culture and the family that would actually come to live there. And then they welcomed the family. Now, they met with us and they discussed it with us. They were a faith-based group, Caritas, and there were 8 people who were interfacing, but the whole community knew about it and was supportive of it. And the people said that never in their lives had they got such satisfaction from doing anything as actually welcoming this family into their community and supporting them. One family, 3 small children, mum and dad. One of the children was a baby. And they had come from camps similar to what you've seen on the screens earlier, had gone through very, very difficult conditions that we can't even in our wildest dreams imagine. So I visited the family in their home, their new home, and they were so, so grateful at the welcome and the support. And they said, you know, we've got our lives back. And all they wanted to do was to give back to the community what they had got, their lives. They want to work, they want to contribute, and they want to be part of and be included. And that's what the community wanted as well. One family. So I went down to London after that, and I met another group there. They were an Anglican faith group, who again had done something similar. The story was exactly the same. They said, you know something, we can now see, you know, you can put money in boxes, you can do all that, but they were doing something really, really practical and really worthwhile. And the family again came into the room and said, you know, we have our lives back. You know, we can wake up in the morning and we know that we have a future now for our children. And one of the questions that quite often we're asked by people from Syria is, where do our children go to school? Because they're very interested in education and getting on and contributing and giving back to the community. So I want to thank you this evening in Lismore for being interested in this pilot project, where one family, hopefully, will come here to Lismore, and will live here, and become part of the community, and will leave a terrible situation in a camp, either in Lebanon or Jordan, where they have absolutely nothing, and fly into Dublin Airport and come directly here. Canadians have been doing this for decades in Canada, and it's been hugely successful over there. And that's something that we're looking at here, and we have a pilot project, and we've invited communities to come and contact us if they're interested. And Lismore contacted us. And so I said come down this evening here and engage, and thank you first of all, and engage, because people will have questions. It's something new, you'll have concerns. People might want to contribute, might want to find out how can I help, what can I do. We want to answer those questions, and then maybe, hopefully, this will actually be hugely successful. So integration and inclusion is a two-way process, and the families that will come into Ireland, and we have quite a lot of families already. We pledged to take in 4,000 people from the Syrian conflict. We have about 2,200 so far have come in here. A lot of those families have ended up in emergency reception and orientation centres in various places. There's one in Dungarvan. And then eventually we try and find homes for them around the country. But this is a new model whereby they go directly to a home and are welcomed into the community. And the intention is that if people in the community know about this, that the integration happens and people work together. So again, I'm very grateful to the community here for looking at this and for exploring this and hopefully for making this happen. And I know there are other communities around the country now and other groups of people who have approached us and have said, what can we do? Because they know what's going on in Lebanon and in Jordan. They know the terrible conditions that our fellow human beings are going through, and they want to help. And this is a practical way of helping. And one family in the community, I don't think is too much to ask, really. So if each community around the country does this, we can actually, have our 4,000 people here, fairly soon, and it's spread around the country. And that's our plan. But it can only happen if communities come forward and say, look, we want to do this. We want to be part of this. We want to help in some way. So that's my contribution. Again, I said I come down to thank you. I can't stay for the full evening, unfortunately, because I have another engagement. But I wanted to be here to be part of it. I'll stay as long as I can.
But sorry, what is the limit? That's what we want to know.
The limit?
You can't say one family is okay.
Yeah, one family.
That sounds grand.
Yeah.
But where is the limit? But he's going off soon. That's what we're concerned about.
Yeah, next year.
We have sympathy with these individual
Good.
families.
Thank
That's
you.
grand.
Yeah.
Okay? But we don't want to become a minority in our own country.
When
That's
you
what
say,
we're
when you
concerned
say we,
about.
could you
That is what we are
identify?
concerned about.
Who are you? Who are you?
Minister, what's the limit?
I'm sorry,
That won't
we
happen.
will be having
Policy
a...
said.
We said we'd take in 4,000 people,
Okay, so that's
men,
the limit.
women and children. That's our commitment.
That's the limit.
That's our commitment.
That's the start though.
Well, we've only 2,500 in yet. It's very, very difficult. And we're facing major
It's very difficult
challenges.
for us as well, you know.
I think-
Beekeepers and farmers in Ireland here, you know.
Through the chair, could he identify himself? He's
I didn't get, excuse me, I didn't get welcomed into this community as an Irish person. And the home I have to live in is damp mould.
There's homeless in Ireland.
And
Let's take care of our own
a lot
first.
worse than me. And I haven't got welcomed into this community. See that?
90% of the country is poor.
Lynn, you're the welcoming committee. You haven't welcomed me. I've been suffering here living with that.
Tell the truth, Minister.
I know. There's people on the streets around. Yeah. I'm not, sorry, get your hands off me. Okay. I'm talking to this
Take
man.
care of our homeless
I'm
first.
listening, yeah.
Right, okay. Now I am sick, I am ill, because I am having to live with this. Okay? That's damp mold. I'm breathing that in every day. See me shaking, right? Do you know why that is? Because that's because the doctors that I drove to Waterford today to get him to sign this letter that my friend wrote for me, so as to get me proper living conditions. Well, those doctors threw me out and called the Gardaí. Okay? So this, I just happen to be a mother, but fathers are suffering this in this country. You have to do something about it, yeah? People are killing themselves. I'm not going to kill myself, but there's plenty have killed themselves, and will probably do that tonight.
Here, here.
Now, what are you going to do now to sort this out? Before, you're lovely people, welcome refugees in, great. But what are you going to do to look after me, for instance? I'm local. I'm living in Tallow. You know, how many more people like me are living like this?
Well, I would hope that both particular situations, one wouldn't interfere with the other. That if a group here want to look after a Syrian family, that it wouldn't actually make your situation any worse in any way. And you know, we all have to work together here. You're in the house at the moment. It's not actually adequate. I don't know what your circumstances are. I don't know. But perhaps you can...
3 years like that.
But I've never met you before until tonight. So,
I've never met you before.
of course,
either.
thank you.
And you know
So,
why? Because I'm stuck in my house day
Right,
in, day out,
okay.
freezing cold.
well, I don't know your circumstances. Perhaps we can chat afterwards and you can tell me what your circumstances are.
There's
You've
people
got that.
worse off than me. And I'm sure I speak for everybody.
Yeah.
Anybody who
We can meet you later. Okay, thank
Will you
you.
meet me later?
Okay.
You apply and draft something that is absolutely
Sorry. I'm trying to stand up for my rights. I'm getting sick every day in my home.
Thank you. You have now spoken. We have heard your story.
Yeah, have you?
Yes, we have. Thank you for
And
telling
what are you
us.
going to do about it?
I am here to talk about a particular issue this evening. I have a young child in the audience whom I do not want to see upset by some of the behaviour that's going on. So I am perfectly aware of all children. Tonight we are here to talk about if you think that shouting me down is a sign of liberty and democracy in Ireland, it is not.
Doing things in secret is not either.
He's locked up for 40 days, illegally.
The last time I asked, I was made aware this is a democracy. Now, this evening,
It's not a
well,
democracy.
Let's have a
It's
referendum.
not
so.
a democracy.
Yes, let's have a referendum.
Let's have a
Well-
referendum.
It's not a
Stop the
democracy.
referendum for a European army. That's illegal.
to those of you who would like to continue on with the meeting, perhaps we can do so.
I think the meeting should be shut down for the
Leo Frank is bringing 2 million people. You know, everybody is aware that we're on an elected tea shop. We're bringing 2 million people. 2040 plan to sign in Marrakesh with 3 million.
Yeah, it's true.
To those of you who are interested in the subject which we came here to discuss this evening, I would like to introduce Ciarán Murray, who's going to tell us something about his experiences in Dunshaughlin. We have done other people the courtesy of hearing their protest this evening. I now ask them to give us the courtesy of listening to what we came here to talk about this evening. Mr. Murray perhaps could now be listened to with the same courtesy that we have shown you.
What about showing courtesy to our own homeless people? No,
thank you.
We should be all talking about our own people first. We should look after our own people first.
Good evening. On behalf of the Dunshaughlin Refugee Support Group, I would like to thank the local committee here this evening for giving us the invitation to visit your lovely town, and for the terrific, in particular, the terrific hospitality shown by Jane and Maureen, who are feeding us and putting us up overnight. I personally have inherited an extraordinary graw for the Dacia County and your tradition of hurling from my father. And I've suffered with you the pain in recent years of coming so close to winning the Holy Grail. My father was actually a boarder at the age of 6 in Ring in the Gaeltacht. And he often told me the story of coming down. This was during the Civil War, the Irish Civil War. And on Farmore, coming out on a horse and cart from Dungarvan to meet him, and he was only 7, from the train in Waterford, because the railway bridge had been blown out in the Civil War, and that's how he had to be conveyed to the college. Little I'd say that he'd think that another Civil War would feature in the family's history, and that I'd be coming here tonight to talk to you about our initiative in Dunshaughlin. The coincidence of war, Waterford and Ring doesn't end there, because one of the first, when the Al Fakir family first arrived in Dunshaughlin, they told me that they had an incredible interest in music of all types and sorts. And one of the first songs and ballads that I introduced them to was none other than Waltzing Matilda, sung by the fantastic Irish folk singer Liam Clancy, who, as you all know, is laid to rest over in the graveyard in Ring. So again, you had the connection with war, and that ballad conveys the horrible and the futility of war, which has been experienced, and as a result, the horrendous fallout, humanitarian crisis that has developed in Syria because of the war.
War's over.
Who bombed Syria? The Western countries bombed Syria.
With our support. Zionism bombed Syria.
Incidentally, now, there are also there's another few parallels between Dunshaughlin and Lismore. We have 2 castles that are only a few puckfathers for Dan the Man near Dunshaughlin, Dunsany Castle and Fingal, which Fingal was home to the Earl of Fingal, Dunsany to Lord Dunsany, both castles closely associated with St. Oliver Plunkett. And incredibly, to continue the coincidences of war, Lord Dunsany was the patron to our own in Meath. We had a great poet called Francis Ledwidge, and Francis Ledwidge was killed in the First World War, and he, shortly after he writing that very poignant poem, Lament for Thomas MacDonagh, who was executed as a leader in the 1916 Rising, and Francis himself, believe it or not, his first experience of the horrors of war was fighting Johnny the Turk in Gallipoli. So all of these incredible things have come together. But just to move on then from the history and talk about the business in hand tonight, which is to tell you a little bit about the Dunshaughlin experience of hosting a Syrian family. Our story in Dunshaughlin began only last July when 9 individuals came to, and they were very random. We didn't know each other, or very few of us knew each other, but we came together with a common purpose that we felt we needed to do something as a community in response to the humanitarian crisis that was taking place. So we quickly adopted a constitution, and we developed a refugee settlement operational plan with huge help from NASC, which is the Irish Immigrant Support Service, and I want to particularly recognise the presence of Fiona Finn here from NASC this evening, who has been a huge help to us in that regard. So then UNHCR, which is the UN Refugee Support Agency, and the Department of Justice quickly identified a Syrian family to move to Dunshaughlin, and that family, the Al Fakir family of Zuhair, Angram and Lorca, are here with us this evening. The process of developing the operational plan was fantastic in getting us to focus on the very practical issues that need to be done in order to welcome any family trying to locate to a foreign country who have minimal personal resources and may have language barriers, etc. So as the various needs were identified within our group, tasks were assigned to individual support group members who took on the challenge and responsibility for solving those practical issues in relation to the housing, the health, education, finance, as and when they arose. We also set about creating an awareness around the parish and town and organising fundraising, which was very well supported from the outset, particularly by, and it's perhaps different than here, we had, because of the new housing boom close to Dublin, there's a lot of new building taking place, and the local developers were anxious to be seen to be associated with the initiative. The resettlement, I'd have to say, of families, it's a complex business, and we in this country don't have a great history when dealing with resettlement issues. Also, we have very little experience of cultural diversity because we're an island nation with predominantly an indigenous population up until recent years. And there are incredibly sensitive issues when dealing with the various categories of refugees that are present. And therefore, I think it's very easy to be critical of systems when you don't really understand the complexities of the issues that are involved. What we do know is that international experience highlights the fact that the community support model provides the best outcome for refugee families, and that is where a local community adopt one or two, not a huge number, but each area takes a responsibility in a town for a small number and maybe only one family, and that has proved to be enormously successful, and it builds. It's like the old saying about saving. If you save the pennies, the pounds look after. If you do the small things and do them well, that's what counts. We are very mindful that the resettlement of refugees is a new phenomenon in Ireland, and that all agencies involved locally are on a steep learning curve, and that the learned experience from the early placements, as the Minister and Evelyn have repeatedly said to me and to our group, that they would be anxious to pilot this, see how it pans out, and then learn from the experience and hopefully improve it as we go along.
Improve it for more.
So, as with all new ventures in life, and I've had significant experience in the past of dealing with complex and difficult problems, but it is the individuals who make the difference. It's not organisations. And that's particularly true when individuals within those organisations take ownership of the issue, empathise with the situation, and use their common sense and energy to make life easier for those in need, and I mean everybody in need. I believe that the overwhelming feeling of our committee members now is one of immense satisfaction that through our hard work, and there was a lot of work involved, the Al Fakir family have not only found accommodation but also a home in Dunshaughlin, where they already have gained many new friends and have in only 3 months truly integrated into the local community. The Al Fakir family, they are an exceptional and wonderful, loving, caring people, and I feel privileged to know them. They have an enormous amount to offer Irish society. When they arrived in Ireland, both Zuhair and Angram were fairly heavy smokers, but both have now quit the habit, which I think deserves a bull of us. All 3 family members have joined the local running club and regularly run 5k on a Saturday morning, as well as keeping fit in the local gym where they were given a 2-year free membership. The family can also be spotted out regularly on their recycled bicycles, which Angram and Lorca are perfecting their newly acquired cycling skills, not without a few bandages and a little bit of pain. The apartment that they occupy is absolutely bedecked now in potted plants, and Zuhair is keenly on the lookout for a vegetable patch to grow his own table produce, while Angram is constantly trying to convince some of us more old-fashioned types to be more adventurous with food and sample her Syrian cuisine. So it couldn't have worked out better for us, and we are truly delighted. Finally, I want to congratulate Lismore Cappoquin on taking on the baton and wish you all every success in your endeavours. We will only be too delighted to pass on our learned experience to your committee and help in any way we can to make it a success. And now I want to ask Zuhair to address the meeting.
Minister, one quick question. Can you confirm or deny the presence of ISIS? Can you confirm or deny the presence of ISIS in any direct provision centre in Ireland?
Invited
Can
speakers
you confirm
only.
the presence of
Please
ISIS
do not
in any direct provision centre in
Ireland?
Ireland?
Here this evening
Is that a yes or a no, Minister?
to tell us about his experiences.
Can you confirm or deny the presence of ISIS in direct provision centres?
This meeting, please remember we have both an Irish child and a Syrian child sitting among you. It is enough
And it's for that very same reason I asked the question. Does the Minister confirm ISIS in the direct provision centre in any direct provision centre in Ireland?
I'm sorry, you cannot be allowed to speak. Please allow this
Why can I not be allowed to speak?
who has suffered enough in his life to tell us a little bit about.
Do you know my story? Do you know my story?
No, you have not been
invited.
Do you know my story? You have not been
invited. It's a public meeting. It's a public meeting. Who needs invitation?
If you could please continue.
Can you confirm ISIS?
The gentleman to tell.
Let me ask one question and then I'll stop.
If you can allow the gentleman to tell
one question.
Story.
One question.
Please sit down and allow the gentleman to tell his story.
One question.
Please sit down. Please sit down.
One question. One question.
You are not
an
invited speaker.
One question. Can you confirm the presence of ISIS in any direct provision centre in Ireland? Minister, can you confirm the presence of ISIS in any direct provision centre in Ireland? Yes or no? I take that's an ignorant one. One question. Are ISIS in direct provision centres in Ireland? Yes or no? I'm asking the Minister. He's the man responsible.
Marhaba. Oh, good evening, everyone. My name is Zuhair Fakir. I'm here today with my family, my wife Angram, my daughter Lorca, and we are from Syria, where a bloody conflict is about to mark its 8th anniversary in a few days.
War is over.
But I'm not here today to talk about war. War is war. It's only one ring in a long chain. I think all of you witnessed such rings in Rwanda, Kosovo, Afghanistan, Iraq, and now in Syria. I'm not here to talk about my country history, because I need hours and hours. I'm only here to talk about our short experience in Ireland and what that means for us and for others. The title of our experience in Ireland is Hope. Hope is the only thing Syrians have now. Hope is the only thing you can give to Syrian to save. It's a door you can open. After these 8 years, Syrians have nothing but hope. They only seek a safe land to start their new lives. A secure, peaceful, and healthy environment for their children. For this, they're still crossing a deep black water in the Mediterranean, putting their lives into a very serious risk. And I believe it's the same water your grandfathers or grand-grandfathers, I mean the Irish, had crossed once for the same targets or objects. We arrived in Ireland in December. Thank you, Lorca. That means 3 months ago. But we have that feeling that we are here years. Same time, each day I open my eyes and discover that I'm in a new life. This would happen to lots of Syrian families who are now, as I suppose, looking toward any effort with their eyes widely open that someone could give them a chance or hope. Me and my family were very welcomed since the first moment we arrived in Ireland, surrounded by love, talking about community. We felt they are our family from the first day. They supported us. They gave us the opportunity to express what we are and what we are going to be. Would like to thank them very, very, very much, represented today by Mr. Kiran. I would like to thank NASC, represented by Fiona. I would like to thank everybody help and aiming to help any Syrian family. We deserve to live. Thank you very much.
We are now at the Q&A session. And I would like our panellists to join us this evening.
Can the Minister confirm the presence of ISIS in any direct provision centre in Ireland? Can you confirm or deny the presence of ISIS in any direct provision centre? It's not an important question. Do you want to know the answer to it? Do you want to know the answer to it?
Please.
They're in the Wicklow Mountains. Where else do you think they are?
Sit down. So, I would like to welcome Evelyn Byrne, who is the Director of the Community Sponsorship Programme in the Department of Justice, and Fiona Finn of NASC, Refugee Support in Cork, and also Jimmy Taff of Waterford Leader Partnership. So if I could have our first question, please, which is not from somebody who has already asked a question.
The gentleman here mentioned, I go to the mic. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
The gentleman here, I think you're go for fish on TV or whatever, you mentioned a pilot project. You mentioned a pilot project. Pilot project to me means initially, first off, a start, and then you continue on. But I do not trust the government. When they say 4,000, I don't trust them, right? Why were we not looking to get Asha Bibi? Give her asylum.
Yes.
Asha Bibi.
Where was Asha Bibi?
I'm asking the question. Asha Bibi spent 8 years in jail because over a cup of water, and her life was in danger. And this government didn't offer her any asylum whatsoever. There was someone here from the Department of Justice, right? I brought a case, several cases.
I am from the Department of Justice.
To the Waterford Garda station of a criminal scam.
What is your question?
Let him finish it.
Question.
The question is, I went to the Garda station in Waterford, the immigration officer, I put in her lap a case of visa scams run by a fella in Dublin called Irfan Hamid, a Pakistani who scammed people who I live in an apartment block, 14 apartments.
Thank you for telling us your story, but this evening is about questions about our Syrian program.
This is all orchestrated.
Nothing is orchestrated. I think if any orchestration, sir, it has come from your side. No, I think, sir, there are several of you who have answered a rally call. It is you. You asked a question about a pilot program.
No feedback from the cops in Waterford about a criminal scam going on. My name is Vic.
You may raise that with Garda Síochána, but you did mention a pilot program this evening. Thank you, sir. I'm the Department of Justice.
Yeah, no, we are the Department of Justice.
Thank you. Now, please sit down.
Ladies and gentlemen, a scam.
Fine.
It is a scam, yeah.
Asha Bibi,
Yes, we have heard your opinion, sir.
8 years in jail, a scam.
All right, you have given us your opinion. Please sit down.
The only thing missing here
Please sit down.
a violin was missing. That's all that was missing.
I have a
Please sit
question.
down.
I'll be honest, you should take note.
I'm taking note, thank you.
I have a question.
Now, the question about the pilot program, the question about a pilot program is quite simply this. The community sponsorship program has operated in Canada for many years. It has operated successfully. We are not sure how it might. Sorry.
This family very welcome here. Honestly, you're very welcome. You know, from my heart.
Yeah. Thank you. No, I'm sorry. I am answering a question here.
You're being used to funnel in 2 million people into a country.
Please sit down. The community sponsorship program, which operated very well in Canada, we are now going to try in Ireland. We have selected a number of spots around the country where people have agreed to come together as communities in a way that do extremely well in Ireland. Different people from different walks of life will come together in their community. They will form a community sponsorship group. We are having a pilot program because we want to look to see how we can adapt the program, which has been successful in other countries, to the Irish context. Because obviously, no matter what you do around the world, you have to adapt it to your own context.
Look at the UK, successful. Look at the UK. Look at France.
Just sit down. The pilot program will continue until October. There will be about 40 or 50 people, probably about 5 or 6 or 7 families brought to Ireland under the community sponsorship program. And in October, we will review the program, see how it has worked, see how communities feel about it, and whether it is the way that we wish to bring families from Syria to Ireland. Because we're going to invite an independent monitor to monitor and evaluate the program. See, first of all, if it has worked for the people who have travelled from Syria, because having had experiences that none of us can imagine in Syria, we want to ensure that the welcome in Ireland is such that children like Lorca and her parents will find a warm, safe, secure environment where they will not feel under threat. And it's very important that we give that safety and security to people who have had experiences that I think that probably, and I don't know everybody in the room, but I think there are very few people in the room who have come through the experiences that the Syrian people have come through. So that is the reason we are having the community sponsorship program. We are working together with the communities. There are many groups around the country who would like to get involved in this. If there are those of you in the room who will remember the Special Olympics in 2003, when we invited spectators from all around the world. At that time, there were 200 volunteers for the Special Olympics. By the time the Special Olympics were over, there were 25,000 volunteers.
And then they went home.
Can we ask a question?
Can we ask a question?
Can we ask a question?
Can I ask a question?
Half of you don't know. This is not the first time refugees came into our country. We had refugees in our country before, called the Boat People from Vietnam. They came into my community in Dublin. They stayed for a couple of years and they went on. They were most welcome. They didn't have to have a meeting.
They were dragged out of O'Connell Street.
Can you please allow people to speak?
We've been refugees from...
Oh, man. Barbary trade.
Did you get a free house?
The fact that I have an English accent reflects the fact that we've been people who have...
You're a European.
You're a European.
you get a free house too. What do you want
My
to do?
question is,
Doesn't matter. You got a free
in a
house and you're
sense, we're
sitting there
trying-
going off.
we're trying to clarify
You don't know what's
something,
going on.
We're trying
When was the last time you
get
read a
facts
book?
out, we're trying to hear people's opinions, we're
When
trying
was
to
the last time
respect
you read a book?
everybody's
You haven't got a
views
clue
and
what's
hear the
going on.
genuine issues that are there. And my question is, how
You
can
know
we do
nothing.
that? Because it seems to me that at the moment, we're talking over each other, we're not really meeting each other. I think everybody in this room has a valid perspective and a valid set of questions that they bring. And one of the great things about Ireland is that actually through our years of experience, we've learned how to talk to each other, and Irish people, I think, are exceptionally good at talking to each other. It's one of our great national qualities. And so my question is, can we find that in ourselves again? Because when we have these contentious issues, we lose that sense of ourselves sometimes. And I just want to say, I worked for a mental health organisation, and around about 14 years ago, before my organisation was set up in the town of Charleville, there were a lot of people on the streets with banners saying, not in our area, we won't have any of these people here. These people, we won't have them here. 14 years on, we have lovely integrated relationships with the community in Charleville, and people come to us as much as us going out to them. And so there's been a transformation that's taken place, and that came through people actually just meeting each other, connecting with each other. And I think if we can just have
Is that a question or a story?
If we could just, sorry, I've been a little wild. If we perhaps just agree a set of ground rules, so as perhaps not to talk too loud, so you're frightening some people in the room, or perhaps to ask questions in a way that's quite concise, so that the experts.
Can the Minister deny or confirm the presence of ISIS in direct provision centres in Ireland?
It is not the purpose of this evening's meeting. I am quite sure there are lots of political meetings around the country where people can address all of these questions to the appropriate ministers. This is the minister who has responsibility for refugees and integration. We have about 10 more minutes of our questions and answers, and I would like to focus on the subject for which we came here this evening, the subject for which this meeting was called. All of the other questions are valid and can be answered, but not in this particular forum.
Can I ask a question?
That's democracy, folks. Don't answer
Well, I'm sure Lynn will answer this more a lot better than I will.
Basically, there are many aspects of actually integrating a family into Lismore. And although the group of us that are spearheading the Lismore Welcome Project, we have actually been working and supporting and enjoying the company of our Syrian friends in Clonay and Cappoquin. But there are many elements that we would actually look forward to receiving support in with regard to skills that people may have, whether those are sort of techie skills, maybe there's somebody who can do a GoFundMe or a Facebook site or whatever, or somebody who can maybe sort of sit there and video for us such an event as this. And there would be other skills that we'd be looking for, because one of the things that we have to do in the town is to find private rental accommodation. This is private rental accommodation. And one of the things that we know in Lismore is that there's a lot of empty houses. And it may be a case that we would actually need to actually put some work into these houses to make one habitable for a Syrian family. And this is actually sort of the type of system that could be mirrored in other ways as well for other members of the community. But we are looking for a private accommodation.
You're delusional. You're delusional. Last question. Can you confirm or deny the presence of ISIS? Can you confirm or deny the presence of ISIS in direct provision centres in Ireland? Is that a yes or a no? No comment.
Answer my question. Who bombed the cities of the Middle East?
I'm talking about the community sponsorship program, which is about Lismore. It's about Lismore. That's what we're talking about. It's about finding out who is interested in supporting this initiative in Lismore? Who is interested in offering their help, in offering their skills, in maybe
What about the
doing
Irish?
some fundraising, maybe painting walls, maybe actually making tea for the people?
They created the refugee crisis.
We want to know how we can integrate people into our friendly communities. And it is all about opening up your heart and diminishing fear. This is all fear-based. And it's not about creating fear, it's about creating harmony between us. We are all
You're living in La La Land. You're living in La La Land. So what's the tell?
Well, they call the guards on this woman. That's some integration.
Listen, it's part of the social protection.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for that very, very nice way to end the question and answer. Can I say to the people of Lismore, your answer to the people of Lismore, your answer to the hatred that was displayed this evening is to make this a resounding success. Go out into your community. Speak to the children in your schools. Speak to your shops. Speak to your neighbours. There is one way to answer hatred, and I think there are enough of you in this audience tonight that will give Lismore's answer to hatred, fear and violence. Answer it loud and clear, Lismore. We'll all be watching you. Well done.
Thank you everyone for attending.
You were clapping around the
We
voice.
actually have coffee, tea, biscuits, chocolates. This is our first overture.
All right, folks, we're going to there. People have spoken. They're clapping for their own demise. So with that, I ask the Minister the question. Will you accept the comment on any access of ISIS in any direct provision centre in Ireland? Refuse to answer. Take it easy, boys. I'm going to sign off on the stream there, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to press the like button, press this and the subscription button, and you will be reminded of future broadcasts here on the Gran Torino. If you're still here, get over to Gemma's stream and check in, and make sure you get up to date on 5G. It's only one of many different things that's going on in the world. Is ISIS in any direct provision centre in Ireland? Ask us.